Hello, Keith Rucker here, VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we are working on the metal planer again, and in the previous episode I made some leveling feet for the 4 outside legs. I've still got my 2 center legs. These are a little bit different style, a lot different style than the other ones, and we're going to go about doing these a little bit differently. So this is the leg. There's 2 of them. They kind of go in the middle of the planer to kind of give it some support there in the center, and it's just a casting. It's a hollow casting. It's cored out on the inside, and what I want to do is put basically an area in here that we can put a jack screw on to level this up and down. So what I had done was I had some discs cut out. This is 3/8 inch steel, had a hole punched in there or put in there with the plasma cutter, and I welded a nut in there just like we did before. And the game plan here is what I want to do is I want to actually do a counter bore in this casting where this little disc will just fit right down into it, and then we will weld, or actually braze, since we've got cast iron and steel, we'll braze that in place. Now, to do the counter boring, I could go about this several ways. I thought about doing it over on the milling machine, but because of the height of the part, it was in the boring head on the mill being long, I was afraid I wasn't going to have enough room to do everything. But I got thinking about it. We can swing this on the lathe, so we're going to actually put this over on the lathe and bore it out on the lathe. That's the game plan. I've got the other leg already set up on the lathe, so let's go over there and show you the process we're going to use to counter bore these out so we can make these adjustable feet for the metal planer. So here's the setup, guys. I put a faceplate on the lathe. So the faceplate just has holes in it for mounting stuff to it directly. It doesn't have any chucks or anything like that that you tighten up. And I've got some bolts going through this. We just literally bolted the leg down to that. Nice and tight. I got the 2 holes in here just like we wanted, and I just started by taking some rough measurements off of the 4 corners of this, bumping around with a dead blow hammer, and we've got it running, you know, fairly true. There's really no way to tell for sure because this is oval shaped. It's not round. It's not like I can really put an indicator on it. I can just kind of measure off of these 2 sides and these 2 sides and get it close. And it is just that, it's close. And it really doesn't matter if we're directly in the center. We just need for this to go in there roughly in the middle where it's going to be fine. So turning it on, you can see it turning, and I do believe, I'm hoping, we'll know here in just a minute that this is going to be stable enough. You know, because of the length of this, I'm probably going to get a little vibration down here in the end, some chatter. We're just going to have to work through that, take light passes, whatever it takes to get the job done. Now, my disc is 3 inches in diameter, 3/8 inches thick, and that's what I want to recess up in there. So basically, this will just drop right down into the end. There's already a hollow place in the middle where the bolt can go up through, but this needs to just kind of sit down in there. That's the game plan. Let's do it. All right, hopefully you guys can see what's going on down here. Got a boring bar in the lathe. That's what we're going to be using to do our cutting with. And first thing I want to do is just kind of get an idea of where my 3-inch diameter is. So I just have a visual indication here to work off of, and we need to go a bit wider than that. That is just a little bit undersized, and that's fine. I just want to have a kind of just a visual guide to go off of, and we will go in there and clean that up to the right diameter once we kind of get it down to depth. So all right, I'm going to feed in. I'm just doing this by hand. We'll feed out. And through a series of cuts here, we should be able to get this to the right diameter and depth. taking about a 20 thousandths depth of cut here. I could probably take more than that, but I'm just going to take it easy on this. Haven't really seen any chatter so far, so we might push it a little bit harder. All right. Another 20. Don't pay too much attention to the wobbling in the inside of that casting. That's just a hollow core. It is not necessarily true to the casting. So when I was doing my measurements, I was actually measuring on the outside of the casting. That was just where a sand core was in there, and it's probably random. And it's a rough casting. It's not a machine surface in there. This is 100 thousandths depth now. We've got to go to 375. And I'm going to take about 30 thou on this depth of cut. That went just fine. We'll do that again. Just feeding my hand wheel out by hand. No more travel that I'm going. It's just not worth having to engage it and disengage it. I'm just going to a 50 thousandths depth of cut now. I was worried about the rigidity of this part, not my machine taking the material off, but it seems like it's pretty rigid, so we're just going to go ahead and do a 50 thousandths step to get this thing knocked out. All right, I'm gonna get a depth here. So we're about 385. I was shooting for 375. Actually, I do want to go just a little bit undersized. So the depth now is fine. So I need to work on this diameter, and we want it to be just a little bit over 3 inches. And we're at about 286 right now. So now we're going to use it like a traditional boring bar to get our diameter where we want, right there. All right, this is going to go in like this. The diameter is good. I do want to go a little bit deeper on my depth, I think. It's not quite all recessed there, so let's do that. We'll just take about another 20 thou off the depth there. All right, that's just really just right there, perfect all around this thing. I'm happy with that. That's flush, so we're good. I think I will cut a little chamfer in there just to give my braze someplace to go. We'll do that real quick, and I think what I'll do is I will just use the cross slide here. It's set to about 30 degrees. And we'll just put a little chamfer in there. That looks good. I'll put a chamfer on the outside of this as well, but that one is ready to braze in. I'm going to set the other one up over here, get it done off camera, and we'll be ready to weld those in place. So let me show you a little trick here that I'm using to get this thing lined up on the lathe. I did this on the last one too, but because again this is an oval shape, it's a rough casting, there's nothing here I can really indicate off of to get this thing lined up. It's just really all by eye. And what I've done is I've taken my cutter and my tool and put it right out here on the edge. I rotate around to the other side to get right on the edge, and I basically just use this as a visual sight to adjust it. So, and what I was doing earlier is I was just taking a dead blow hammer, bumping it around, and until we got them in that direction right. And then in this way, same thing. I just came in here. We got it roughly even on that side, rolled around this side, and we are really close right here. That's how I did it. No measurements, no indicators, no nothing fancy. Again, this is not a precision layout. We're just getting it pretty close, and I think we succeeded. So looks like the center hole on this one is running truer than it was on the previous one to the casting. So anyway, we're ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and get this one done. I'm not going to show you the process, same one we did before, but I did want to show you how I lined that up. Now it's time to braze these in place, and we're going to just use a brazing rod to do this. We're putting dissimilar materials together, cast iron and steel, and I find when doing cast iron, brazing just works good for me, so that's what we're going to do. So let me get set up here, start putting some heat in here, and we'll braze them in place. I'm probably just going to tack them in 4 places instead of trying to braze all the way around. I just need for it to be held in place and not go anywhere. The weight of the machine is going to hold them in place once they get set on the ground. So start by just slowly putting some heat in here and raise the temperature up gradually. Once I get some heat in there, we'll focus on a certain area and get it tacked in place pretty good. Probably more than just a tack, but I'm not going to try to braze it all the way around. Alright, I'm starting to see a cherry red. I know this flame always just kind of washes it out. It's hard to see on camera what's really going on. But we're going to come in here now and just start melting some of this braze in here. Alright, work our way around. right, that one's done. We'll go to the other one. I'll do it off camera. I let these cool down overnight. They were really hot when I left here, and went ahead and just used a flap disc and just ground everything down flush. We got nice 4 areas of braze on each of these, holding them in place, and that should be fine. Again, I think I mentioned this before, but because of the way these are sitting in here, when they're turned upside down, they'll be sitting on that ledge up under the bottom. So this is really just to kind of keep them in place. The weight of the machine is going to actually hold them in there where they're at. So I did have to wire wheel a little bit down where the paint burned off. I'll repaint down on the lower end of these legs once it's on the machine, but I do want to put a little layer of paint on the bottom just for protection. I'm just going to hit it with a rattle can here, and again, this is just to protect it more than anything else. My can's about out. About all this can's got in her. All right, time for this can to go in garbage. We'll let that dry, and we'll put these on the machine. All right, these are ready to go back together now. I've had time for my paint to get at least dry enough that I can handle it. I went ahead and put my leveling feet in here. I will note that, you know, these bolts have little indentions or whatever coming up off of them. I just ground those out flat, so we got a nice flat surface on there, and a jam nut in here that we can jam it together once we get it to the right height so it's not moving around on us. And these are ready to go back on the machine, so let me get down here and crawl around up underneath it, get them put on. All right, let me get one of the legs here, get it kind of sitting up here. Yet another case where an extra set of hands would really be helpful. All right, that one's going. That one's going. That one is in there. Let's get the other one in here now. All right. Get the other side in here. Just like that, our legs are mounted. Well, there we go. We got our planer sitting back on its 6 feet now, and I got adjustments on here where I can get everything tweaked out. And I know this may seem like not that big of a deal, just why not let it sit on the floor, but I'm really wanting to get this bed dead nuts flat. And I know from past experience that it's amazing how much twist you can introduce and take out of something just by adjusting feet on it. So as we get this machine set up for scraping, I want to make sure that we take the time to get everything leveled out like it needs to be. And then we'll have a machine that's really just exactly like it wants to. And having these leveling, adjusting feet is going to be critical to being able to do that. So there you go, guys. That's going to be a wrap on this episode. As always, thanks for watching. Please leave comments if you like, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the videos. They're always appreciated. And guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.